Hello everybody, welcome to a new video, and today I am going to be ranking every single weapon in TF2. Now this video is going to be a bit more casual, it's just going to be a little bit more laid back. I'm just going to give my thoughts on each weapon. I'm not going to be really getting into the competitive viability of each weapon. I'm just going to be ranking on how much I think they're fun, how good I think they are, how much I like to use them personally. Now, as we can see here, we got the no strange variant tier, so already I feel like we can knock a couple out. Alright, we knocked some of those out of the game early. No strange variant equals trash. Now, you may be thinking, I don't see the hot hand in there, and it doesn't have a strange variant either. Well, lucky for you, I have the no strange variant plus hot hand plus ratio tier, which is exclusively reserved for the hot hand. Alright, and with that said, I think we can dive into my actual thoughts on weapons now. First one we got here is the Airstrike. And I really like the Airstrike, but I think it really lacks consistency. It's a snowball weapon like the Islander, but the bonuses just aren't enough to make it useful in the long term. You're really only going to be getting more ammo in your clip, which you're just going to blow all anyway. So, I'd say it's roughly a... I'd say it's a C-tier weapon. It's the definition of mid. Now we got the Alibaba's Wee Booties here. This is one of the few weapons without a strange variant that I will be counting, just because, you know, if it was strange, what would it even track, you know? I figured I'd cut at least one a little slack, because I'm a very benevolent boy. Now, playing full Demo Night is very fun. I'm going to be putting this one in the A tier. I love playing Demo Night. Ambassador. Unironically, a lot better than people say it is. I know it got nerfed hard, but it's not unusable. Getting headshots is always satisfying. I'm going to be putting this one B tier. This would probably be very low B tier, but I'll make some adjustments when I'm done with the tier list. Amputator. Ooh, Amputator. It's not the Uber Saw. Apoco Fists. Now, you may be thinking this one's just a straight reskin, right? But when you punch people, they explode. And luckily, Heavy has a melee, or Heavy has a secondary, mind you, that makes it so he always mini crits, which causes explosions. So, Steak plus Apoco Fists, ultimate meme. This is going to be going in high C tier. Atomizer. Ooh, this one's good. 3 jumps, triple jump goodness, gotta love it, gotta have it. I'm putting this one high B tier, very consistent, very reliable. Op, this is announcing to the entire server that you get no bitches. F tier. Extinguisher, ooh, combos, fun. Getting cool chain kills, fun. High A tier. This is high A tier material right there. Babyface's Blaster. Ooh. It's fun. It's good. Actually, that's the problem, is it's not good, but it is fun. It's just, it's C tier. It's just C tier. Backscatter. Ooh, not so good. This one's not so good. This one's real bad. This one's gonna be going in... D tier, because it's bad in comparison to Scout's other primaries, but at the end of the day, it's just a worse version of a good weapon, which kind of makes it just a mid weapon. Definition of mid. Ooh, Backscatter. You know, it's kind of crazy to me that this one gets a really bad rap when it doesn't really deserve it. And you want to know what else is crazy? During the FNAF 2 era, in multiple of the infamous death minigames, the purple guy, as the community dubbed him, would appear with slightly different shades of purple. This initially led to the community believing there were in fact 2 separate entities rather than the one man. This belief that there were 2 purple guys turned out to be nothing more than a mere misconception. But it's crazy how this misconception almost seemed to foreshadow the existence of Henry Emily. See, while the purple guy was in fact the same in all minigame appearances, it turns out he had a business partner. Purple Guy, who we now know as William Afton, partnered with Henry Emily to work on a pizza franchise known as Fredbear's Pizza. Know that Fredbear is not the titular Freddy of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, rather a separate precursor that would go on to be Golden Freddy. While the timeline for the FNAF series is well known for being murky, one of the few certainties we know is that Fredbear's Family Diner is where the timeline probably begins. At this franchise is where we see the protagonist of FNAF 4 mistakenly fed to Fredbear by his own brother. The child and his brother, Michael, were the sons of none other than William Afton. This event has the concrete date of 1983, so no Markiplier, this is not the... You fucking goofball. Eventually, the child succumbs to their wounds and passes away, but it appears his soul gets trapped inside the Fredbear costume. The bite of 83 leads to the closing of Fredbear's Diner, which would later be rebranded into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. However, in the meantime, Henry and William begin to work on a new sister location called Circus Baby's Pizza. Am I recording? Okay. However, the death of his son has changed William. After perhaps seeing the effects his son's soul has left on Golden Freddy, or a snapping of his psyche, Afton designs an animatronic with the sole purpose of isolating a child and snatching them into their insides, crushing them. The animatronic turned out to be none other than Circus Baby herself, who on her first day on stage isolates a child and offers them ice cream, only for a claw to emerge from their torso and mangle the child until death. This child turns out to be Afton's own daughter. Accidentally murdering your own daughter with a big robot is kinda cringe. So possibly under the assumption the ordeal was another accident, the two split ways and William is banned from all future Fazbear Pizza locations. But not Circus Baby's Pizza, as it closes down after the accident and all animatronics are placed in underground storage. This finally leads us to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which isn't the location of the first game, rather, the second, which is a prequel. It is in this establishment that I believe 6 children are murdered, the first of which is Henry Emily's daughter. Perhaps enraged by the two splitting ways, Afton murders Henry's daughter outside the Fazbear's establishment, where the puppet, an animatronic designed for security, wanders outside and stumbles onto her lifeless corpse, absorbing her soul. Later, Afton would use the Spring Bonnie suit to lure 5 children into the back rooms of the establishment, where he would murder them all and stuff their bodies into the withered animatronic suits. The puppet, now being controlled by the soul of Henry's daughter, saves the souls of the children by attaching them to the 5 animatronics: Freddy, Chica, Foxy, Bonnie, and Fredbear, which means now 2 souls are tied to Fredbear. The establishment is rightfully closed after this and would later go through a slight rebranding into the FNAF 1 location, with the withered animatronics being renovated into the FNAF 1 locations, child souls included. Now I believe this is where the FNAF 3 minigames come in. After every night in FNAF 3, you play as an animatronic getting lured to the back of the establishment, only to be dismantled by Afton, who knows children possess the suits and wants to fend off their spirits. However, this would ultimately be his undoing. In the back room of this establishment, the ghosts of the children manifest before Afton, who in fear runs towards a Springlock Bonnie suit. This isn't just any regular suit, however, as it is both animatronic and costume. In order for the animatronic to act as a costume, it needs to be carefully wound and kept dry, lest the springs inside lock back into place. Afton, in a panic, puts on the suit to try and scare off the spirits, foolishly not realizing rain dripping into the room from a hole in the ceiling. With the suit now moisturized, the springs snap into place, piercing Afton's body countless times, fatally injuring him. This is the origin of Springtrap, the animatronic you face off against in FNAF 3. At the end of FNAF 3, Fazbear's Fright, the animatronic-themed horror attraction you work in, gets burned to the ground, presumably by you. However, Springtrap escapes this. Remember Circus Baby and Michael Afton? Coming back to sister location, in this game you play as Michael Afton, brother of FNAF 4's protagonist and bite victim. Michael is on the road to atone for his dad's misdeeds, and he gets a job attending the Circus Baby animatronics. On the final night, Michael is guided to the scooping room by Baby, where he is tricked and has all his organs ripped out of his body so that Ennard, a combination of all the animatronics that harbors all the dead children's souls, I think, can crawl into his body and escape the facility. Once safely outside, Ennard ditches Michael's carcass, which due to a paranormal sense of determination, comes back to life. FNAF 6 time, baby. In this one, a new Fazbear's Pizzeria opens after the burning of Fazbear's Fright, where all the souls wind up. Springtrap, Circus Baby, Molten Freddy, which has the souls of Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy, but not Golden Freddy, and the puppet, trapped in an animatronic known as Lefty, all arrive. How did the souls of the children make it into Molten Freddy, even though the last time we saw them chronologically was at the ending of FNAF 3? I don't know. My brain hurts enough already. Michael arrives too to act as the security guard. In fact, it is strongly implied that Michael has been a protagonist in most FNAF games. It is here on the final night where it is revealed that the pizzeria was constructed by none other than Henry Emily, who uses it as bait to lure all the animatronics and Michael in to be burned for good so that all their souls may be put to rest, except Afton so he can go to hell for being cringe. Except Golden Freddy, cause Golden Freddy sucks. So yeah, who would have guessed this is where the story would go after the FNAF 2 minigames? I just thought that was kind of crazy, guys. Anyways, sorry guys, I feel like I got a little sidetracked there, but you know, I felt like it was important. Okay, Backburner. This one is good. If you are the type of pyro that never presses mouse 2 ever, except to like extinguish teammates every now and then, this is your weapon. It is M1. Normally, I don't say pyro is an M1 type of class, but this is the M1 weapon. Probably low B tier. Baseball bat. Why use bat when can use fish? F tier. Battalion's backup. Ooh, big bonuses, big boy bonuses. You're getting that crit resistance, you're getting that sentry damage resistance, and you're getting that 20 health to boot. This is actually a very good weapon, but it requires team coordination. And you're not gonna be finding that in your average pub. So in terms of competitive play, which I know I said I wouldn't count, but it'd probably be low B, or actually no, it'd probably be like up here for counting like coordinated teams. But in terms of just regular pub play, probably low B tier. Bizarre bargain. Ooh, this one is good. Probably too good. It's not very punishing if you know what you're doing with it. In terms of fun, I think it's one of the more fun sniper primaries, but in terms of balance, high B tier. Beggar's Bazooka. Oh, the skill ceiling on this one is high. The skill floor, probably also pretty high. Actually, this one's really hard to use and I'm not good with it. So in terms of my skill with it, probably down here, but in all reality, this one's probably low B tier. Big earner, health penalty, rough stuff. But you're getting that speed bonus, and I love speed and fast, eating ass. Gonna be putting this one in mid C tier. Oh, Black Box. You remember when this used to give you health per enemy you hit instead of being hard capped on 20? That was crazy. But that also makes me remember something else. I heard recently that there is a new killer. I was surprised when I heard it for the first time. I first thought that it was just a crazy fan of Jeff the Killer because of her appearance. But after doing a thorough investigation of her, I discovered that it was much worse than a monster. Things went well after that. I read it from a local newspaper. Strange and unexplained murders have increased for several months. They had investigated that the suspect was a killer. The investigators found a witness who said that it's not only one killer, but 2 killers. He said that both of them are attacking different cities. It is still unknown if they work together or separately. But luckily, I was able to find another witness from the hospital. He told me what happened. Here's what the witness said. It happened one night, the guy narrated. I was walking from my work to home and I was alone in the streets. Then I had decided to take a shortcut because I wanted to get home quickly, but it was a big mistake. When I was already halfway to my home, I began to feel that I was being watched and I heard footsteps. I turned quickly, making sure that a thief is not following me, but I found something. So I just thought that it was just my imagination. I continued walking, but the feeling of being watched became stronger, and I heard footsteps close. I noticed something approaching, then suddenly, I saw a black-haired girl with a magenta streak in her hair. She looks like she's maybe 16 or 17, though her face did not look like a human. Her skin was very pale, and her eyes looked at me with a thirst for blood. She had eyes that were very wide with a strange, disturbing look. Her smile was so dark, and I was afraid. I stood there for a moment. I felt great fear running through my body. She didn't say a word. She just stood there for what seemed like an eternity, and finally, The girl just gave a speech as she moved her head to one side in a way that a psychopath could do. I immediately felt nervous. Go to sleep, my prince. Then I quickly run to the opposite direction. I run as fast as I can, but it was not enough as she was too fast. Then I suddenly feel her dark presence, followed by a sharp stab through my arm. I fell to the ground with a groan of pain. Then she released a hysterical laugh. She used her knife and stabbed me, and she stabbed it into my shoulder. She managed to slice off my shirt, making my stomach bleeding. But luckily, I hear the voice of a policeman who had come. He was holding a gun. But the girl just smiled to it, and the police fired several bullets in her direction. But the girl avoided it rapidly, and she ran quickly while laughing. I saw her. I was never able to forget that face, let alone that laugh. After my interview with him, the young man was found dead in his house. His body was chopped into pieces. It was full of blood everywhere, and the room where the body was found on the wall was found written with blood that said, "You didn't go to sleep, my prince." Nina Hopkins is an 11-year-old who transferred to a new school so that she could be closer to her home. One Sunday morning, a day before her first day at her new school, she woke up and went to the bathroom and brushed her teeth. She went back to her bed and took her laptop to connect to the Wi-Fi. Nina was not the type of girl that is very cheerful. She was not the type of girl that would open the window and let the light into a room and do something productive. No, she just enjoyed sitting down watching animes, or listen to music like rock, J-pop, or K-pop, playing video games, or just play guitar. So she liked to be herself and loved her family and friends. But this time, she did not want to do any of the things, and that is considered normal. This time she wanted to read Jeff the Killer creepypasta for the 1000th time. She adored him. It was her favorite. She felt a strange attraction to him. She had an admiration for him more than anything. Every time she read it, she felt a strange desire, but she didn't know why she enjoyed this strange desire. Can I read this for the channel? When she started to read it, the door suddenly opened. She quickly saw her little brother Chris and his beautiful green eyes. Nina thinks Chris is her prince. She loved calling her little brother Prince because when she was just little, her mother would always tell her fairy tales when it's bedtime. She liked this type of stories, and she thinks the princes in the fairy tales look just like her little brother Chris. Chris has dark black hair, fair skin, and light green eyes, like his late father. However, Nina has light brown hair, fair skin, and light blue eyes, like her mother. "Sis, it's time to eat," said the child with an innocent smile. "I'm going, my prince." She pinched the cheeks of her little brother. She left my laptop on the bed and went to eat. The next morning, Nina and Chris went to school. Nina got up and dressed in a shirt that is her favorite, and she took her bag. She felt something strange, like a strange desire. She did a little smile that formed on her mouth. Suddenly, she heard her mother's voice, and she was in reality again, and she immediately took the bag and she completely ignored what happened. She quickly went downstairs. "Are you both ready for school?" asked the mother. "Yes," they both responded. "Well, good luck in school." And her mother went back to the kitchen. "Bye, Mom," they both responded. They walked to the school because Nina thinks taking a bus is annoying. They both went their separate ways. Nina went to high school while her brother went to elementary school. Nina didn't really mind attending classes because she thinks it's boring. When the siblings finished taking classes, they both decided to find a quiet place to eat without having to worry that students are playing around them. So she found a garden behind the school where there are no people, no teachers, or even students. She sat and ate, thinking they would have a peaceful breakfast, but they heard footsteps. Nina looked up and met a girl much older than her. She had black hair. "Well, well, what do we have here? New students," announced the girl. "My name is Claudia, and I rule at this school. And if you do not obey what I say, you will suffer," she said as she pulled a knife from her jeans. Then suddenly 2 guys came out from a nearby tree. They were known as Malcolm and Yoni. Nina sat up quickly and stood in front of Chris to protect him. "Hey, we don't want any trouble. We just want a peaceful breakfast," Nina clarified. "Ah, I see. But you shouldn't be here. This area is ours," Claudia said as she approached them. "That's stupid! You have no right to make us go away from here," said Chris while confronting Claudia, but Yoni punched him in the stomach. Chris collapsed, but Nina quickly held him. "Chris!" said Nina while holding in her arms. "Well, if you don't want to be next, I would recommend you to obey and get out of here," claimed Claudia while pointing Nina's face with a knife. Nina did nothing but punch Claudia's face. Claudia collapsed to the ground. Nina took Claudia's knife and stabbed her shoulder. Then Nina gave a strong kick on the crotch of Malcolm. He quickly fell to the ground. But Nina didn't stop. She quickly released several kicks in the boy's face. The boy's face was now full of wounds and blisters. He had a nosebleed. Yoni became frightened immediately when he saw how Nina attacked Claudia and Malcolm. He started to run away from her, but Nina immediately noticed it, and she quickly ran to him. She used Claudia's knife and she quickly lunged at the boy, targeting his stomach. "Nina!" She heard the voice of her little brother. Nina immediately turned to him, and she got confused as to why his little brother had a very surprised look on his face. Nina decided to let Yoni go and stepped back. She looked at her blood-stained hands. She felt like a monster, but she had to admit that her killer side was extremely good. She turned back to her brother, and her brother was surprised at what he saw. He was shocked at what he saw. Nina ran to him and took his arm. "Come on, we can't be here for long," I said. "Then we left the garden?" Why is it first person now? What? After that, Nina went to wash her hands. She knew she must avoid telling somebody or even mentioning what happened. Her little brother Chris thought it was just self-defense, but she knew something else was going on there. She knew that was something stronger and horrible is starting to form inside her. That feeling of being powerful and strong. The need to hurt someone. The day passed quickly, and when the siblings returned, they sat down to eat with their mother. "Well, how was school?" asked his mother with a sweet smile. Chris stayed quiet and didn't answer the question. "Great," Nina commented with a psychotic smile. Nina went upstairs after eating and opened her closet, revealing her collection of Jeff the Killer. She had several Jeff posters, Jeff clothing, some Jeff notebooks, Jeff dolls, and Jeff stuffed animals. She took a doll from her closet and put it in her bed. She looked at the doll. She couldn't tell if the doll's sinister smile intimidated her or amused her. Then she whispered, "Jeff, you made me do this." After the incident, Malcolm and Claudia were found unconscious, but they didn't find the culprit. They also had no idea that Nina was the one who did it, an 11-year-old. So she had that advantage to avoid suspicion. And since it happened the first day of school, many couldn't tell if Nina was there because a lot of people didn't know much when it comes to new students, and it didn't gain much attention. Also, a lot of students didn't know whether it happened on the first day of school or not. One day, Nina opened her locker. She found a note which said, "I know what you did, but don't worry. I will not tell anyone. You are very skillful, but also very dangerous." Nina didn't find a signature or anything to identify who wrote the note, but she had the nose that someone saw her but decided not to reveal his name. Meanwhile, Nina's sanity didn't improve, and she took a knife in the kitchen and hid it in her pocket while sleeping in the room with her brother and mother. One day, Chris was playing with his new friends in the park. Nina's mother, whose name is Monica, noticed that it is getting dark. So she asked her daughter to tell her brother that they are going home now. Nina went to look for her brother, but she didn't saw her little brother. She became worried. So she went over to Chris's friends and she asked them where his little brother was. They responded that a black-haired girl took him. Nina became very worried and went home to take the knife in her room that she hid so that mother wouldn't find out about it. Nina spent a lot of time finding him. She was getting desperate and she had hopes that her brother was in a safe place. Then she saw a car coming. When the door of the cars opened, she saw something that was thrown away in the ground. She was surprised when it was Chris who was in the ground. Then she heard laughter coming from the car before the car went away. Nina quickly held Chris in her arms. Her little brother was brutally beaten and his clothes were ripped apart. "Chris, what happened?" she exclaimed while holding the small body of her brother.
Nina asked me to play,"
said Chris while trying to speak to Nina. Nina tried to control something that was screaming inside over and over and over again. She felt that she needed to control her anger. Nina quickly took him to the hospital. Nina called her mother and informed her what happened to Chris. Her mother quickly went to the hospital. The doctor told them that he has internal bleeding and swollen wounds was found in his body. The mother of Nina began to cry, but Nina just quiet to the situation. She wanted to avoid hurting someone just for revenge. The next day, Chris was released from the hospital. Must have been pretty okay, I guess. But the doctor told him to rest for 3 weeks. Nina didn't go to school because she wanted to take care of her little brother. She would tell Chris some stories and she would help him by making sure he would take some medications. Nina went to school again. She received a new note, which read, "I'm sorry about your brother. I hope he recovers. You must never think you're alone. I'm here. I'll be your friend." Nina suddenly blushed after reading it. She checked the letter again, but she didn't find a signature. Weeks has passed, and the arrival of the school's picture day arrived. Nina was ready for the picture day. She wore a short black skirt, black stockings with deep red stripes, and a sleeveless t-shirt that has black and blue stripes and a bloody red ribbon in her long ponytail. But she felt that something was missing. So she looked in her closet. She sees her favorite purple hoodie, which reminded her of Jeff the Killer's hoodie. So she put it on. She went downstairs and sees her little brother waiting in the stairs. They both left the house and said goodbye to their mother. The siblings went to school, but this time they went to the bus to avoid meeting the trio again on the road. When they arrive in the school, they saw the trio. Claudia, Malcolm, and Yoni are walking in the hallway. They seem to be searching for someone, but Nina was aware that the trio are searching for her and her brother Chris. The siblings decided to stay away from the hallway and must avoid being seen by them. Didn't they go to separate schools? They made sure to say that they went to separate schools. The day passed quickly, but unfortunately, the trio found them. Nina felt that she is being followed when she turned her face to the back. She received a punch in the face and she fell to the ground. Then she saw her brother. He was caught in the arms of Malcolm. Nina tried to get up, but she received another punch in the belly. She fell back to the ground and she looked up. She saw Claudia. "At last I have found you, bitch," said Claudia while standing in front of Nina. "This is my revenge for attacking me last time," she said while she pulling a gun. "I don't want to fight you," Nina said while trying to stand up. Claudia immediately shoot Nina using her gun, but Nina quickly reacted to it and she avoided the bullet. Nina stood up and ran as fast as she can to an abandoned house nearby. It was locked inside, so she climbed up to the stairs. The trio tried to shoot her with a lot of bullets, but they couldn't successfully shoot her. Nina went inside the bathroom and she was trapped in there. She wanted something to defend her. "Nina, are you going to stay in there? Did you forget at what I did to your little brother, you idiot?" Claudia shouted from outside of the abandoned house. Nina suddenly felt a combination of hatred and anger and that need to kill someone. Nina looked around the room. She saw an iron rod. A twisted smile formed on her face. She took the iron rod and left the room. She quickly dodged the bullets and hit Uni through the head, releasing a stream of blood. Some of the blood went on Nina's face. And there, something that changed her, something broke. Like a thin thread had broken. That thread that divides sanity from insanity. Malcolm and Claudia took a few steps back. Nina turned to their direction, showing a psychotic smile, making even Chris shiver with fear. Claudia tried to run along with Malcolm, but Nina hit Claudia in the head. She fell down and Malcolm decided to release Chris from his hands. But Nina didn't stop the violence. She attacked Malcolm in the head a lot of times and making his head full of crimson blood. Claudia tried to get her gun in the ground, but Nina prevented her. Nina pointed her iron rod to Claudia. Nina, do you feel good?" Chris said as he felt afraid from his big sister. Nina turned her face to him with a little more relaxed look, but she didn't stop smiling. "Do I feel good? I feel great! My prince, let's go home," Nina said to her little brother. Nina and Chris returned home. Her mother saw Nina was full of blood, so she quickly went into her room. Nina grabbed her laptop and wrote a note that perhaps no one will ever read. It was midnight. The mother of Nina and her brother were sleeping. However, Nina could not sleep, so she got up. She looked in the mirror and smiled in a twisted way. She went downstairs as she was ready to do the craziest thing in her life. Nina walked into the kitchen. She drank a bottle of vodka and put it on the table. Then she started to search for a bottle of bleach in the cabinets, but she didn't find any bleach. "Where's the bleach?" Nina groaned as she looks for it. "Did you look for these?" Nina heard a voice behind her. She turned around and she was surprised to find a guy at the entrance of the kitchen. He was holding a bottle of bleach. The boy had an extremely pale skin. His hair was black and he had a disturbing smile. "Ah, you're Jeff the Killer," Nina said. "I have been observing you for a while. I think you have become a killer like me." "Ha ha ha," Jeff said. "You're right, so I need that bottle of bleach," Nina said. "Ah, let me help you," Jeff said as he opened the bottle and poured the bottle of bleach in Nina's head. Then Nina felt another liquid running through her head. She looked up and saw Jeff had a matchbox in his hands. Nina smiled at him. "What are you waiting for?" "Do it," Nina said with a passion. Jeff grinned and he threw the burning match in her face. "Go to sleep," Jeff said as Nina's face began to catch on fire. The flame started to spread around Nina's face. She screamed loudly. It was very painful for her. She looked around, but Jeff disappeared. Nina collapsed on the floor. She saw her mother and brother quickly going downstairs. Both of them immediately used a bucket of water to put out the fire. When the fire on her face was gone, her mother called the ambulance, but a lot of neighbors came to their house since they heard Nina scream. Nina fell unconscious when they put her on the stretcher and she was taken to the ambulance. Among the neighbors, there was a boy that has black hair, a pale skin, and has green eyes. His height is slightly higher than Nina. The boy looked down at her with some concern, but he doesn't know how he can help her. The boy watched as they put Nina into the ambulance. Nina woke up after being unconscious in the ambulance. She tried to move on her own, but the bandages prevented her from moving. Suddenly, a nurse came with her mother and her little brother. "It will be better if you stay still. You shouldn't move around," said the nurse. Her mother and her little brother came to her and encouraged her that it's going to be okay. After 1 month of recovery in the hospital, the doctor decided it's time to take off the bandages on her head. Her mother and her little brother were anxious to see her face, but luckily, her face was kept intact and was not entirely damaged. "Well, Miss Nina, the burns were not severe. You still had most of your face structures, including your nose, but if the fire on your face kept burning, your face will suffer great damage," the doctor said while removing the last bandage on her face. When the last bandage was finally removed, Nina's mother was terrified at what she saw while her little brother was hiding behind her mother. "What is it?" Nina said while she is getting up from the hospital bed. She ran towards the bathroom and she looked herself in the mirror. Her face, it was very different than before. Her skin had turned completely white. Her hair used to reach on her knees, but now it's on her back. Her skin was very soft like a marshmallow. What? But her family was very surprised at her new face. "Sister," Chris said while hugging Nina. "You still look as beautiful as before," Chris said, but the child knew that he lied to his big sister because he felt afraid from her sister's disturbing face. "Oh, Chris, you're so nice," Nina said while looking at him in that way so disturbing. "But I want to more beautiful," Nina shouted. Nina's strange behavior confused her mother and her little brother, but it also made the doctor confused at the girl's behavior. "This face is perfect. Oh, my dear Jeff, you gave me this beautiful face," the girl continued shouting. Doctor, is my daughter okay?" Nina's mother asked the doctor. "Well, usually things go well after a lot of resting, but if her mental health doesn't improve, I'll give her psychotherapy," the doctor said. "I understand," Nina's mother said. Nina's mother grabbed Chris's arm. "We have to go now," Nina's mother said. "Ha ha ha ha, sure," Nina said while looking her face in the mirror. The nurse handed her clothes, which is her purple hoodie with a short black skirt and black stockings with deep red stripes. Nina dressed up and left the hospital. She went home with her family. She doesn't know that she had become a monster that will kill anyone. They came to the house and Nina keeps smiling in a disturbing way. Then she noticed a boy in one of the windows of the house. He had black hair and had green eyes. The boy was watching her, but he quickly disappeared. That night, Nina's mother woke up after hearing a sobbing of a girl. Her mother gets up from her bed and she wanted to find the source of the loud noise she heard. She walked quietly and she saw the door of her daughter's room was open. She went inside the room and the room was very dark. She turned on the lights. Then Nina's mother saw something terrible at her daughter's room. Nina keeps stabbing a lifeless body of a girl. She keeps stabbing her with a kitchen knife while smiling. Her intestines and internal organs were removed, and Nina put it on her bed. Her entire clothes was stained with blood. She stared at the ceiling. She used to bully me at school, Nina said as she kept staring her eyes to the ceiling. Mommy, I'm becoming more beautiful, she exclaimed as she turned her head to her mother. Her face was really bad. Her smile was shocking and her eyes were wide open. I get tired of being worried. I get tired of being sad and suffer all the time. Now I'll smile always and people will see my beautiful face. This is the face that Jeff gave me. Am I beautiful, Mama? Nina asked her mother. Nina's mother could not help but take a few steps back, shaking her head. No, Nina, you've become a monster. You have killed somebody. Nina's mother started running. Nina quickly followed her mother. Killing people when they run is funny, Nina said as she followed her mother. Nina's mother tried to run at Chris's room to wake him up, but when she found about the touch to the knob of the door of this room, Nina quickly stabbed her mother's skull with a knife, and her mother immediately fell down to the ground. I'm very kind of sad that Mom does not believe I'm beautiful. How sad, Nina said while pulling the knife out of her mother's head. Chris woke up in his room. He felt he was in danger and he was scared. Nina slowly opens the door, revealing her shadow. When Chris realized that it's sister, he took his sheets off to see his sister. But when she saw his sister is holding a knife, Chris became scared again and he snuggled into his pillow. Chris, Nina said in a whispery tone. Then Nina asked her little brother a question. Am I beautiful? Nina asked him. Chris stayed quiet as he held tightly of his pillow. Oh, come on, Chris. I didn't do anything bad, Nina said. She hides her hands in her back while crossing her fingers. It's a sign that Nina was lying to her little brother. You know, I feel much better now. Let's start a new life. Will you come with me? Nina said as she gets closer to Chris. Her little brother Chris nodded at her. Oh, good boy. If you want to join me, just go to sleep, my prince. Nina kicked the front door of the house while carrying her little brother on her back. Chris was dead. His dead body was smiling that looks very innocent, but his eyes was wide open that makes him look like he's still alive. But in reality, he's dead. He was covered in blood and has multiple stabs. Nina took a few steps at the entrance and she slowly looked at her little brother. Chris, I'll kill more people and make them all asleep, she said, as she put her little brother down in the ground. Then she walked away to the streets. Golden Pan? I don't know, fucking F tier. Okay, bye.